Okay, folks, welcome back. Welcome back. Thank you for coming back. Who had a good morning tea? Say yeah. Awesome. I love that there's some cross-pollination happening, people moving tables. I think if you were to ask me and say, Wado, what is one of the greatest things about Summit and Forum too, for that matter, I'm going to say it's the fact that I get to see a whole bunch of people that I'd call friends. Who thinks that the whole community thing is one of the best parts of today? Say yeah. Hugely important day. So, and I also say this, you will not get better or be better by hanging around with the same people you always hang around with. So do your best job to go and celebrate that and meet a bunch of new people over the course of today. So one of the real key parts of what we do at Summit and Forum is we always come and have amazing guest speakers who come and present and offer insights and amazing stories. And guys, I'm going to say today is no exception to that. So by way of an introduction, we have an amazing speaker today. So get your pads out, your note papers out, get ready to get a whole bunch of stuff. So our speaker today was born in Eastern Europe. She moved to New Zealand at a young age. She is a registered psychologist specialising in resilience. She was with the New Zealand Defence Force as the lead psychologist and also an officer of the SAS. And she now works globally as a coach, advisor to governments, corporates, sporting, all over the planet. We're very lucky to have her here today, so give a big EBS welcome to Dr. Alia Bojilova.
Champions? Oh my goodness. Good morning. Good morning. Hey team, I got up at 3 o'clock this morning New Zealand time to be here. And I moved to New Zealand from Bulgaria, and I'm so sorry, I hear on the way here, you have a housing crisis, and I'm about to add to it because I'm staying, okay? I'm moving in. I will be talking to you today about some of the most important things that I see out there for extraordinary human beings and performers the world over. I will not be mincing my words. I understand, having witnessed one audience of cohorts like you, EBS down in Queenstown earlier this year, that in the room we have unwavering commitment, profound levels of restlessness, need and focus. So I need you to bear with me, I need you to roll with me, and I need us to please go places we don't normally. I want us to really confront some of the assumptions that we hold in our minds that are holding us back. And I want us to really go forward with really explicit, unapologetic commitment to the sorts of things that you're learning in this audience today, tomorrow, however long you're going to be with this particular cohort. Because everything I've witnessed so far has been exceptional. So, that aside, I just wanted to tell you, we are going to be talking about Go Bag. By the way, those of you who have been in the military, who has been in the military in the room? Raise your hands. Are you sure? No, I'm joking. Okay. So those of you who have been in the military would recognize that term to be the thing that defines the bag that holds the stuff you need. No more, no less. In cognitive psychology and resilience psychology, understanding this is extremely important. The theory of the Go Bag basically means that in order for us to thrive in change, ambiguity, and unpredictability, to pursue the goal that we have set for ourselves, we have to pause frequently. We have to declutter. And we have to be very, very clear on what it is that we need for our mission. Just the right stuff to get us out of trouble and to keep our march sharp. Do you agree? Make sense so far? Yep. Now, what I get to see, and I'm going to tell you 1,000 stories because you need to hear them. What I get to see is extraordinary people with profound, zesty, powerful purpose who pretend that it can be some version of performing when they're running around holding thousands of dusty folders on their heads, right? Expectations, poor delegation, worry, rumination, concerns about future that will never transpire. They know it, but they hold on to it because their brain tells them it's important. You know that kind of guy? It's never a girl. Girls are wiser than that. Why are you laughing? Evidence suggests, no, bollocks, I'm making stuff up. Okay, so here is what we're going to do today. Are you with me so far? Is my accent working for you? If it's not, tough cookie, you're just going to have to listen for an hour. I really have some really important messages for you. There are 5 individuals in the audience that have seen me already in Queenstown and have made some changes, but I've brought some content back because it's just as essential for Aussies as it is for New Zealanders. Shocking, I know. But here is the stuff we are going to be doing today. I'm going to ask you to pause for a microsecond here and there, from here on, frequently, and become your own ultimate circuit breaker. What that basically means is that I'm going to be asking you to identify habits of thinking, feeling, and action that are suboptimal. You don't need a peak performing psychologist like myself to stand by you to tell you those things. You know them, you've seen them, don't indulge in them. We're going to talk about why that is so important. Most of you are rock stars already, but if there is one band that you need to be a part of, is that one, the Intention Full rock band. I need you to be a rock star in this. I need every action and thought you take to be intention full. Not just intentional, but intention full, thoughtful. Now, our minds are designed to be porous. What that means is that they are designed to absorb a whole heap of stuff from our context continuously. But our context, as you know, the one that we are exposed to on a daily, isn't the stuff that we can influence in our fingertips. It's enormous, it's vast, it's global. So your job is to become very disciplined about what it is that you pay attention to. On that note, I need you to become your own best attentional gatekeeper. So this is the proposition for this morning. I spent the last 25 years in the tiniest space there is, and the most important one, the space between the thinker and the thought. And I'm going to have to tell you about this. If you've heard me say it before, I have to repeat it. The space between a thinker and a thought where everything happens. This is where your intentions are set. This is where that tiny space could be jam-packed with stuff like this. You've heard of it before, right? VUCA and BUNNY. VUCA stands for our context. It describes our context as volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. Don't worry, we won't be talking about stuff like that for too long. We've all experienced it. We've had 5 years of COVID or whatever it was. That's what VUCA is. Now, the trouble with VUCA, if you're in that kind of context with your extraordinary mind, is that after a while, you become this thing called BUNNY. That's a sweet-sounding abbreviation, but what it stands for is the human state of being in the conditions of VUCA, which is a state of being brittle and anxious in an environment that is non-linear and incomprehensible. Boring. Boring, yes, but here is the stuff that I spend my time working with. I spend my time working with space invaders. One thing that wasn't mentioned, I spent about 60 to 80% of my time as a partner in 2 venture firms. One of them is based out in New Zealand, and the other one, North America and Europe. And my entire time is focusing on space invaders, which is thoughts, patterns of actions, behaviors, and habits that detract from what we have set our goals to be. And the consequences of those thoughts, behaviors, and actions that take away from us are very evident as investors on an Excel spreadsheet. I'll tell you what they are. Some of you have seen them before. None of you have experienced them in the room, of course, I'm sure. Motivation. This is not a typo. This is having no motivation for anything at all. Have you been there? Have you done it? No, not you. I'll tell you more. Dilemma. This is when you have a dilemma about a number of different options, but all of them look equally lame because you are exhausted. You've been carrying these dusty folders in your neck for so long you can't even take the next action, right? The next one is this, procrasti-working. Never done it. But your boss probably did once, that's why you became a business owner. And now you hire people who probably procrasti-work on occasion, right? We're going to talk about that stuff too. Tidy-ups. Have you seen them before? People who try to tidy stuff up but actually cover up the mistakes. The cost of that is exponential. And you know why it happens? Low trust. So boring. It sounds fluffy, but it isn't. Because human behavior is predicated on those mechanisms. You cannot cheat them. You cannot run around them. Cognition, emotion, they're wired against that expectation, right? There's more. Snack accidents. I have those daily. Have you heard about them? Having too many accidents with snacks. I love those. My fitness regime goes out the window 24 hours every single day. And coasters. This is when you avoid your commitments and you suddenly find yourself in this kind of cascaded effect of avoidance that turns into a roller coaster. The biggest, nastiest red line at the bottom of an Excel spreadsheet is based on that ever coaster. And it's actually based on us accumulating a significant amount of expectations that are unfounded 99% of the time, or indulgent. As a military person, I have to tell you that this is the nastiest thing you could possibly be called, indulgent. Particularly if you're indulgent with your fears and worries and ruminations, as opposed to focus on your outcome, clear on the contents of your go bag, and full-heartedly committed to the mission ahead. I've got more to share with you. The mission for us all is to be where our feet are, right? Do you know my mate Gilbert Inoka? Do you know anything about rugby? Did you just do that because you were about to say yes and then you became afraid? Don't be afraid, I've got you. So he says that a lot, right? Be where your feet are. This is your job. In order for you to thrive, to be resilient, to be your ultimate potential, you have to be that. But there is a trickery to it, right? If you're uncomfortable and unstable on your feet, if you're disoriented, if you're weary from the endless slog that things have been so far, and most importantly, if you aren't clear on where it is that you want to go, that becomes your undoing. That march becomes your undoing. One of the professors that I work with in my academic career spends a lot of his time focusing on what depletes us the most. Currently, it's nothing to do with your choices. It is that the context in which most of us operate, unless we are our own attentional gatekeeper, is a little bit like what he calls attentional casino. So your beautiful, brilliant brains, your profound purpose and mission of life is constantly bombarded with thousands of different bright, brilliant, shiny things designed to attract you and hold your attention. And it is your job, if you were to succeed and thrive, which everyone in this room is here to do, to become exceptionally disciplined, exceptionally disciplined. Even if you had top grades on discipline at school, your job is to go crazy on that stuff because your environment demands a whole lot more from you to just keep at a bare equilibrium. This, by the way, are good news. Are you getting it, or does it feel like I'm giving you some bad news stuff? Good news, right? Yep. Sweet, cool. I'm going to tell you about something interesting. So for the last 3 weeks, I have spent most of my time with 4 out of the big 4s. You know, the big 4 consulting companies. And do you know what they've asked me to work with the teams? Can anyone guess it? Leadership. They're above it. They're above leadership. They've sorted that stuff out back in 1986. Now, fair enough, leadership. One thing, my grandma, I'm just going to tell you about my grandma for a hot second because this matters. This little old lady, the one standing over there in the corner, the grumpy-looking one, was an absolute beast of a woman, exceptional superhuman, who had seen virtually anything that can frighten anyone. One thing she would not have contemplated is the effect of AI that we're experiencing these days, right? Any of you in the room considering the potential threat of AI to your businesses? You should. Excellent. More of you should be braver. You should be like, yes, and also the opportunity, right? But one thing that was summoned for all of the big 4s to talk to over the last little while has been the power of relationship, the exact stuff that my Nana knew everything about. So we're going to be talking about it because what we know is the one thing that can keep us safe and sane moving forward is our capacity to maintain deep, profound, meaningful relationship, fundamentally based on capacity to build trust, firstly, in yourself, in your ability to select where your attention goes, and then with those around you, be those your clients, be those your suppliers, be those the people that you interact with on a daily basis, and your loved ones, hopefully. Now, it was already mentioned that I spent a significant amount of my time in the military as a member of one NZSS and a counter-terrorist tactics group. And my service goes on because I married one of these guys. In fact, that guy over there in the corner, the weird-looking individual, is my husband, long-suffering Jamie. I'm going to give you examples of the challenges I have overcome being his wife. But more importantly, the core principle that they use to thrive in change and ambiguity, something most of you might have heard of before. Have you heard about this before? OODA loop. Sounds kind of cute and sweet. Have you heard about it before? Let me just tell you, by telling you what we do most of the time, most of us, unless we are paying attention, take a whole heap of actions, sporadic actions, right? We stack up one action against another. We keep racing around. We make quick decisions because we are the kind of people that make quick decisions and take rapid actions. And before we know it, we've gone places we never intended to find ourselves, typically worse than our hope. Now, OODA loop stands for observe, orient, then decide, then act. Observe. Most of your energy is spent in the space of observation. Because reaction is a very poor choice in conditions of change, ambiguity, and unpredictability these individuals volunteer themselves for. Reaction is a poor man's choice. We don't want to be doing that. We want to be very deliberate. We want to know whether we even care to engage with something or whether we want to be an innocent bystander that just observes and at most enhances curiosity about humanity through their observation. But the vast majority of us, particularly in conditions of stress, go into action mode far too quickly. It's a constant reaction. When you stack that stuff up, your amygdala here in the back of your mind catches you in a never-ending tango dance with increasing perceptions of change, ambiguity, and unpredictability. You see it even if it's not there. We're going to run a couple of experiments to signal to you how that actually works. I just realized that I'm ranting, and I haven't sold the idea to you that you should trust me for what I'm saying. Do you trust me? Yes. Why? What kind of people are you? Why should you just met me. Australians are far more trusting than Kiwis, aren't they? If this was Kiwi land, you'd have your arms crossed in front of your chest, lean back in your chair. I see you. Are you a Kiwi? Jokes. I'm just taking a moment. Let me tell you about why this is important and where that stuff comes from. After about 12 years of full-time service in the New Zealand Defence Force, a significant chunk of it, which was with the rapid deployment list, which meant 12-hour notice to move, with my go bag, I decided to step away from the military as a full-time officer. When I left, my mentor told me to never get stuck in a suit. And as a proper scientist, I took his word to heart, and for the last 12 extra years, I've been playing multiple concurrent games of two halves. And I needed to hear that because I am an applied scientist. Fundamentally, what matters most to me is to see human beings thrive beyond what they perceived as possible and attainable to them, and to do so sustainably with the possibility of creating positive impact, not for themselves only, but for everyone they possibly could care for. And that means the world. So my life is many concurrent games of two halves, and I'm going to tell you about some of them. First, I'm going to name drop, because that's what my next slide says I should do. Here it is. Do you know who that guy is? I didn't know who he was until I told him off that he was sitting in my seat. This was in, where were we? Saudi Arabia. And I went to him and said, "Sir, you're in my seat. You must move on. It's my turn." And apparently, he's the biggest rock star podcaster. Exceptional human being. Dear friend, since, do you know who he is? Good. The Diary of the CEO. Strongly recommend the podcast. It has some amazing tips and tools on how you can maintain peak performance. Please go ahead and do it, because he interviews some of the top scientists across all sorts of different fields. So, The Diary of the CEO, make it part of your podcast playlist. He is exceptional. The last 25 years, we have tested some of the theories that I'm going to share with you across all sorts of contexts. It might seem odd that we combine these things together, but they actually work really well from a scientific perspective. This is the San Francisco Symphony Orchestra, with which we spent months and months studying precisely how human beings who have deep expertise in different disciplines synchronize to perfection, way past the point of just harmony. And that, of course, is underpinned by a profound level of trust. And how is that trust formed, you ask, when they have different contexts, cultural typically, language as well? It is formed through the exact stuff we're going to be talking about in a hot second. Paralympics New Zealand, they are absolutely extraordinary. Does anyone know how long it takes to change a tyre in Formula One? What? 2.5 seconds? Say it like a minute, please. You can't just give me half the assessment and then be like, "I don't know about that. She's looking it straight in your eyes." Any other assessments? Incorrect. About 0.9 of a second. Now, when someone like that says it with that level of confidence, about 0.9 of a second, right? If you get really close to the precise number, suddenly the value of your statement has increased, right? Believable, perhaps. What else? By the way, I have absolutely no idea. I really don't. I don't care one bit. I know it's super fast, faster than I could. But you know, good sales pitch right there. Why am I asking you this question? Firstly, so I can take a breath. But secondly, to signal to you that one of the things we spent a significant amount of time studying with this group was something called probabilistic connections. which is conditions within which you build such level of trust in your own actions and intentions that others see you as more trustworthy, whereby your capacity to tango dance with them increases and amplifies mission success. What? Does that excite you, or you're like, oh my God, Alia, stop talking? It is incredible. It is predicated on how much confidence you hold in yourself, not just in terms of, we're not talking about how confident you are in delivering 0.9-second assessment on changing a tire. That was a bit, but we are talking about, are you clear on what it is that you're trying to achieve? Are you engulfed by it? Does it hold you? Does it drive you? Does it sustain you? Are you walking about it, talking about it, moving about it, sleeping about it? Do you know what I mean? It's complete obsession with your mission in a way that can engage other people with it as well. The same stuff applies to the Stanford University surgical team, with which we spend a ton of time working with. I will share with you a couple more contexts so that you can translate that, hopefully, to your own line of work as well. As a partner in venture, some of the favorite companies I currently have in a portfolio are those. And I'm not going to tell you too much about them, but I'll just signal to you that they are across all spectrums. It's a little bit elemental if you look at it. So we've got space research, we've got plasma, we've got, this is Crimson Education, which is just outstanding, especially because it was started by a 23-year-old kid. And then, of course, we've got possum trapping. I'm really sorry, they're a pest in New Zealand. Let it go. But all of that stuff is extraordinary, right? You're thinking elemental, water's missing, let me show you. These guys, I work with them too. And I deliberately select individuals and groups that are on something called the spinning edge of possibility. If they get the next few things right, the thing that they're trying to achieve becomes incredible. But if they screw it up, the consequences could be catastrophic in many different ways. Which one of these teams captivates you more, by the way? Do you know who these guys are? My son asked me not to mention anything about the All Blacks. He wanted me to have the Brisbane Broncos here on a screen, but that was going to be disingenuous. I haven't worked with them. I just see the T-shirts everywhere in my house in Cleveland, Auckland, on my farm, which is kind of unfair, right? We also spend a lot of our time working in not-for-profit. So young individuals and children, exactly the same stuff applies. These are young boys who are from underprivileged contexts and have gained scholarship for one of the best possible schools they could have, full scholarships. These individuals here are remarkable young men and women between the ages of 16 and 24, all of which have either been in the care of the Department of Corrections, New Zealand, which are in prison, or are about to get there if they don't reorganize themselves. That is probably the hardest assignment I have. I hold them for 1 week, 4 times a year, and I love every minute of being on a spinning edge of possibility with them. I'm not going to tell you about the next slide. No, I will, because I'm going to have to tell you about the places I've been. Now, this is a little updated. Well, I'm not going to update it too much. Let me just tell you. 6 months, snapshot, start of the year. Saudi Arabia, South Auckland, Aussie, Asia, Palo Alto, Picton, India. You don't know where Invercargill is. If you don't know where Invercargill is, you haven't lived at the bottom of New Zealand. This is where my assignments have been. And the reason why I rant about the stuff unstoppably is because consistently what I get to see is extraordinary humans who have the capacity to achieve extraordinary stuff, who currently are struggling with 2 really important predictors of outcomes: sense of agency and sense of coherence. Sense of agency is the idea that if you apply yourself to something, you can influence the outcomes of your life. That the thing that you aspire to achieve is attainable to you, maybe not immediately. It might be a hard yakka for a little while, but you have the intrinsic belief that you can get there. And sense of coherence, when it's disrupted, effectively leads us to the A of that OODA loop that we talked about earlier, right? You lose sense of coherence, and all you become is just this crazy energizer bunny that moves without any focus at all, causing endless amount of movement without any results. Terribly problematic. I've got a few more stories to tell you. Talking about bunnies, my mates in America have to keep talking about this because I was doing some research on what has been the biggest challenge for my teams over the last little while. And when I summed it all up, one of the teams that I work with basically said, we have felt like angry rabbits on treadmill. Can you believe it? Constant movement, a lot of energy, not quite getting to where they want to get to. Now, I have to share in a spirit of transparency, the reason why this was happening to my teams in the States is because of the guy that has really bad suntan. You know that guy, the fake tan guy? He was on a TV show many years ago called The Apprentice, and now he's all over the news. Do you know who I'm talking about? He's causing us a lot of trouble. I want you to please picture this. Your mind is a predictive machine. Your mind anticipates, and based on your sense of self-efficacy and your sense of coherence, it can predict whether you will succeed or fail. And when you think it, you feel it, you act it. You think it, you feel it, you act it. It goes both ways. It stacks good or stacks bad. We think that it's far more complicated than that. It's not. Particularly if you're paying attention to something complicated, if you're investing your energy to achieve something out of the ordinary, which is probably why you are in this room. I want you to picture this. What happens when you see that? What are you predicting? You have a reaction, okay? What else happens? Are you looking at me or are you looking at this? I need you to look at lemons. Look at lemons. Look at it long enough. Imagine someone picking a lemon, squeezing it, putting it in a glass for you, and making you drink it. What happens? Mouth waters, right? Yeah? How many of you have had a mouth-watering experience already? Saliva. Excellent. The rest of you are extroverts. Did you know that? There is a correlation there. True story. This is how simple our predictive minds are. They see a little image and instantly your mind is already rushing with a whole heap of prescripted stories, past experiences. Interpretation of your personality profile pops up in microseconds like that. And I'm telling you this because I became obsessed with the subject of resilience halfway through my career as a psychologist. And it was on my 7th military deployment when I was sent to serve in what was to be my best mission ever. My previous deployments as part of the rapid deployment list were in Afghanistan, East Timor, Solomon Islands, and so forth. This one sent me off to Syria. 5 months into my assignment in Syria, in the middle of the night, I was awoken by a Mayday call. Mayday call, most of you would know, is bad news story. We were perched up in the middle of nowhere with 2 of my colleagues, 3 of us, unarmed, in the middle of the night, were taken hostage by over 38 heavily armed militia members. And when those individuals took us hostage, they told us that they wanted to make a bad video of us. And videos of decapitation are commonly used between warring parties in this region to communicate commitment to the mission. The nasty piece about this situation is that we already had virtually every image of a lemon about how our life was going to end. Everything we had studied as military officers with experience, particularly our intelligence gathering summaries that we were receiving, were suggesting to us that this was going to suck. There was very low probability of success on this operation. We didn't really want to sign up to it, but we were made to, because what are you going to do if you have 38 angry guys pointing a gun at you and you're like, oh no, please don't. Can't do it, can you? Tried, didn't work. They dragged us through minefields and took us to our first holding location. By that stage, being taken hostage was being filmed by another defense force. Long story short, nobody expected us to come back. Nobody expected me to come back in particular because female operators in the area were a treasure, right? They could barter you off all sorts of things. So we went off to our first holding location, waiting to hear who is going to be the next top batter. Now, if you're a smart military officer who focuses a great deal on intelligence, gathering information so that you can better understand the enemy, and your job is to preempt risk, all you see is lemon juice. I don't know why I'm making this voice. It sounds more officer-like, doesn't it? Obviously, it didn't work badly for us, right? I'm here standing to you, talking at you, and I found this to be the most important crucible moment of my life for a million reasons. I will tell you about at least 2 of them in a hot second. It started my PhD research in resilience and curiosity, and I started it begrudgingly. It needed to be done. I had to probably disclose to you that the reason why we were released, according to my team members, was because I talked so much, and I asked our hostage takers so many questions about how they really felt. that they were like, no, she's never going to shut up, send them back, get someone else to make a point with. It worked. I promise I won't be doing this to you to that extreme. But it was an extraordinary situation that creates this opportunity to pause and go, wait. My job is to ascertain risk, to be prepared to deal with it, right? All of our jobs here are to assess risk. But what we do in conditions of depletion, particularly because we are, as grown-ups, wired more likely on a side of predicting negative than positive, is that we overplay that stuff to the detriment of every positive outcome that can occur. And I don't mean it in some cosmic sense. There is nothing woo-woo about that. It is just simply allowing yourself to recognize where your mind goes. And when you catch yourself thinking it, realizing that it's highly probable that you are like the rest of the human population. Random statistic I'm going to tell you, just because it's so random, it's annoying. 17 seconds. If you think about something really awful for 17 seconds, and I don't mean awful like, I don't know, my husband annoys me all the time. If I think about him for 17 seconds, it's just my marriage. That's fine, you know? But if I think about something that frightens me, that challenges my sense of self-efficacy, my confidence, my self-esteem, and I stay in it for 17 seconds, my brain is designed to find close cousins that support that assumption. Can you believe it? So I ponder on something bad, like I'm driving down the road, I'm having a bad day, I'm thinking that someone doesn't see me because their car is bigger than mine, and then I think, I'm not as successful as them. 17 seconds later, my mind is designed to start adding stories to that thing that support my assumption, because it doesn't want to leave the gremlin of doubt, fear, and self-sabotaging thoughts all by itself. It needs its whole tribe. How crazy is that? Now, you do that once, you do that twice, the probability of this becoming a negative cascading effect is very high. And then before you know it, you become a grumpy adult. You never meant to be that, I'm sure. But there you are. I was talking to myself, by the way, not you. I needed to really think about this, because there are simple ways in which we can disrupt that. It's not just about being grumpy or happy. It's about knowing how much of your cognitive capacity, decision-making, and curiosity you have available to you to make the next most important decision of your life, of your career, of your day, to pivot. You need that stuff. Depending on your state of feeling, your decision-making is affected. When your decision-making is affected, even if you have an opportunity standing right in front of you, you might discard it because you think, maybe tomorrow will come. There is a thing called the maybe tomorrow bias. Do you remember the ever coaster? Avoiding opportunities and threats consistently that lead you to a roller coaster of indecision, and that in turn leads to all sorts of other negative outcomes. This is why it is so critical to pay attention to your thoughts. I had more stories, but I'll hold them back, so I'm just going to step away, because the most important message from my end for this particular scenario is this. I need you to please pay close attention to what it is that you negotiate in your mind. Oftentimes, we default to external threats. We can explain away our miserable moment with all sorts of things that aren't our fault. But it is your perception, you know it. It's nothing to do with the facts, it's your perception. It's what sits in your mind that you decide to label a particular situation that in and of itself is entirely neutral. We can spend months talking about that. I know you don't want to, so I'm just going to move on. The shortest thing I wanted to share with you about our hostage release was this. Most of us fight around the want. We think we want something. Typically, in my negotiation practices, that's what we do. We fight want versus want. We were released because we allowed ourselves an opportunity to go from the want to the need to the why. And when you reconnect with your why, with your own why, or the why of what could be your worst adversary, extraordinary opportunities emerge. I'm just going to give you a quick image from Stanford University that shows us what happens to your potential. Did you see that big, beautiful pink blob over there? That was your potential. The interference factors were the black blobs all around it. This is our job. Our job is to move away from the interference effect as often as possible and ensure our potential stays as close as possible to what it can hold. One more thought that I had for you. All of us focus on achieving extraordinary, big, rich potential, right? Momentum is what we are here for. Positive momentum, hopefully. But in order for you to achieve momentum, you have to harmonize with those around you. Those probabilistic connections we talked about, where depending on how you take your ground, others come along with, that is incredibly important. You have to see them. But in order for you to see them and tango dance with others, you have to first know who it is that is standing there holding the ground beneath your feet. You. Self-awareness is a critical predictor of resilience. And on that, can I show you a scientific experiment that will demonstrate to you how that harmonizing and probabilistic connections work? Do you want to see it? Wait, do you want to help me? Just so you know, please be prepared. There may be some loud noises, babies. I'm just signaling that. Also, I need you to not be worried at all about what other people think of you. We are all going to look ridiculous in a hot second. Are you ready? Are you ready? I mean, do you mean it? I have to work really hard with these individuals. Right, on your feet. This is what we are doing. Can I show them, Wade?
Show them what we're doing, yeah.
Do you want to see what we are doing? He came up with it, just so you know. He's been practicing it. How long did you say you've practiced that dance for?
About 6 weeks.
6 weeks. This is what we are doing. Are you ready? You can't just be adjusting yourselves. Now, you should just be like in a state of readiness, right? Your opportunity is there, waiting to grab you, and you're like, commitment. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All we have to do is what he does, and then we shine. You let go of the chair. You don't need support. You're good. You can do it.
Relax, folks. It's going to be fine.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, we ready? Follow along with me, everybody. 100% full tilt. Ready? Running on spot. Running on spot.
Awesome.
Good?
Can we do it louder?
Louder.
This is a little bit of a quiet. I don't know if this is like an Australian thing. We do it like a Kiwi. Ha! Okay? From your bed. Ha! Not yet, not yet. You have to wait for your cue.
Ready, go.
Just like do it on your own.
Let's go again.
All right.
Ha!
Woo!
Ha! Ha!
Again.
Ha!
Should we do it more? Nah.
You
No.
keep going.
Amazing. Well done, Wade. Thank you.
We got the wrong volunteer.
Whew. You're a total star.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, sir. Now, we did that twice as long as we should have, only because it was so good. But do you feel a difference in your sense of being, your state, your experience of life? Just say yes, okay? It was an experiment. It's supposed to be proven right. What we are doing is micro moments of disruption, right? Your minds are going places. You know, we are here today in the most beautiful place on earth, pretty much. We are minding our own business, but I'm sure some of you were probably worrying about the wet Wednesday morning that is going to happen when you're going to get, I don't know, some kind of invoice you really don't want to pay. And I'm telling you the most important science for thriving, and you're thinking about wet Wednesday morning that is not going to come. What we just did is a tiny little moment of disruption. Your endorphins have gone up. You might have felt slightly apprehensive. You probably thought, what is this? But then you thought to yourself, you know, I'm good enough. I can do it. And then you realize it really doesn't matter because nobody is watching you other than you yourself. You let yourself roll with the moment and you've stacked good. You've done this thing called stacking good. Now, if you don't do that often enough, pause, reevaluate, be where your feet are, and play a bit more. You stack bad. We don't want to talk about stacking bad. We want to be talking about stacking good, okay? I've got one more experiment for you at the end of my class. So I'm going to skip past the next 2 slides. Look away from the screen because I don't want to show you it, but I'm going to show you this. The one area I really needed to start pondering on is that everything, by the way, these are New Zealand sheep. Do you love them? Excellent. You can't have them. I nearly brought one home with me here. Anyway, allostasis is a really important principle, and I brag on about it all the time because all of us, when we find ourselves busy and preoccupied with worry and chaos, we think, I'm just going to spend 2 more days this week, work the hardest, and then weekend is going to come, I'll have a beer, and everything is going to be fine. And you know, you suddenly wake up 3 years later, and it's the same day, David. Have you felt that before? It's like, what just happened here? So what we're looking for is homeostasis, right? We're looking for some kind of equilibrium where the pressure ceases to exist and we see ourselves skipping through daisy fields with a beer in our hands and Bob's your uncle, whatever that means. It doesn't happen. That is, unless you don't live life. If you live life well, with intentionality, with purpose, with zeal, it's supposed to be disruptive, right? And so elasticity stands for order, disorder, reorder. Order, disorder, reorder. I wasn't promoting New Zealand sheep here. It's there because nature shows you this all of the time. Change of seasons, you know, change of cyclones, whatever. Order, disorder, reorder. Now, your job is not just to be a passenger waiting for the next disorder to come with a beer in your hand. Your job is to think about how you're going to reorder intentionally to what is better than you could possibly have had before. That is the job of resilience. Resilience is not about grit and handling stuff. It's not about just picking up more and trying not to look like you're broken. Nobody cares. Nobody is looking at you. Everyone is doing their own right? Your job is to pause often enough to notice and gain the lessons learned from every moment. And when you get them, don't just dilly-dally with them. There's nothing menial, there's nothing nonsensical about that stuff. This is the most important thing. You are the one that is writing your own book of life. Nobody else understands it. Nobody else can do your chapters. Nobody else can pull the strings across it in a way that will captivate you. You are it. And so elastasis challenges you to please pay attention to this expectation and look at it with enthusiasm. Order will follow with disorder, and your job is to please reorder things to see yourself better than you could have been before. Does that make sense? Can we please do it? I'm supposed to give you 4 tips to make that impossible possible. Make the impossible possible. Here is the rule of life. I love that I sound like a little old lady now. This is the rule of life, champions. Wayfinding in ambiguity, which is what we are all here for, is all about carefully nurtured pivot points. And I need you to look for them every single day. I don't want you to be waiting for things to subside because this is not a good life. I want you to be seeking those challenges. And I want you to be noticing the moments where every opportunity gives you. Every opportunity exists for you constantly if you're paying attention. If you are where your feet are, rather than back in 1962 when you had a setback and you can't let it go. Let it go. Because there's amazing stuff going on right here. And if you notice that stuff and you engage with it, the thing that you were worrying about doesn't happen because it's so insignificant and so below your potential, it doesn't even catch your attention. Do you know what I'm saying? It happens all the time. I know you want me to convince you with deep data and evidence, don't you? No, you don't. Oh, well, we'll after class. For now, trust me, this is the simple, most important rule. I want to share with you one little something that came out of the Syrian situation, and that means the world to me. And by the way, someone is recording this whole thing. Thank you so much. Me too, because I'm sharing it with my girls. And when I say my girls, it's not my own children. It is some of the girls that we are helping out of Syria and in an area called Braika and Birajam. One of the people who nearly chopped our heads off, one of the baddies in this particular group supposedly, has for the last 11 years been running a school for girls for us out of Braika and Birajam. And if we didn't stop to go from the need to the want to the why, it's not just that we would have lost our heads and he would have lost his life inevitably, it's that they wouldn't have had the opportunity that we can now create for them. We're not creating any opportunities, by the way. We're not sitting there going, oh, here's your opportunity, poor child. They are roaring goddesses that just needed someone to get an obstacle out of the way. And now they're off and away and are extraordinary. This is what this whole thing is based on, and I keep using this slide, and I will probably do it over and over again, because again, like every other room of peak performers, all of us are focusing on achieving results. Big, beautiful, brilliant results. And you're here with your incredible manuals thinking about how you're going to do things, how you're going to stop doing certain things, and the way in which you're going to adapt your style. Very good. Now I'm here to tell you that 2 steps beforehand is the most important decision you can make. And that is not a job for tomorrow. It is not a job for 1999. It is a job for today. Today, you are to examine your own belief of yourself. And if you find yourself dealing with some gremlins, to appreciate that they can hang on your shoulder, but they don't have to be the loudest voice to hear in your ear. By gremlins, I mean the gremlin of fear, doubt, self-sabotaging thoughts, imposter syndrome, whatever. Keep them if they have to be there, but pay attention more to your intention. The beliefs that you hold about yourself and the world determine the thoughts that you have. Again, you think it, you feel it, you act it, you think it, you feel it, you act it. You can either stack up or down, champions. Do you know what I mean? There's not too many choices. We can fluff around it like it's a soap opera. You can watch the soap opera, or you could live your own life. And that happens with, what do you believe you are worthy of? And when you know it, how are you going to think about it? And what actions will you take to prove that point to yourself? Because remember, self-efficacy and sense of coherence, these things matter. They're not just fluffy words. They are the metrics that you define your life by. This is what we are not doing. We are not going to be doing that stuff. Most of our brains, unless we're paying attention, are stuck in a replay and pre-play mode. Not play. Play is where life happens. Play is right here. But most of us are in this cycle of replay and pre-play. Replay, the worst case scenario that happened back in 1962, and pre-play, how that could be even worse tomorrow. That is not an interesting existence. What I want you to be practicing is awareness. Awareness of the power of your own belief. Awareness of where it is that you are. Unless you're paying attention to yourself and those thoughts that you have in the present moment, your brain is designed to take you to spaces of assumptions and alertness. Assumptions, for example, this guy that tells me they're going to chop my head off is probably only going to be good enough to do that. Alertness is really conducting yourself as if your amygdala, your fight, flight, freeze mode, conducts every action of your life. And that is a very simple, basic life, right? I have a couple more things to share with you. How are we going for time, by the way? I got carried away dancing. Excellent, very good. So, here is something that you already knew. Did you know that? Have you heard from Mr. Buffett before? I love that quote. Chains of habit are too light to be felt until they're too heavy to be broken. Now, when you see that, you're thinking maybe, I don't know, too many beersies, maybe smokes, something not so pretty. I want you to be thinking about this in the context of positive habits as well. And I want you to please accept, I know you know that stuff, we hear it everywhere, accept that if you are in the grip of a negative habit, we're not talking basics, we're talking habit of thinking, the most complex and intricate and a wonderful thing. If you're in a habit of thought that detracts from your potential, it is your duty as the boss of you to pause, examine it, and to give yourself 7 days of experimentation. Micro changes are significantly more important and impactful than enormous changes. So please don't dilly-dally with giant stuff. Focus on micro changes, okay? All of us are thinking about this. We have to take on a balcony view, right? The balcony view of life allows you to see strategy as it evolves in the future. It casts your mind into a potential that no one else can see because you are an expert in your field. But unless you're thinking about that stuff right, you're stuck in a basement. Basement of worry about the future and rumination about the past. I think I've solved the idea. So now, here is my proposition. I want you to please mind where your mind goes. You're not going to believe it, but I spent, I don't know, 6 years doing my PhD along with full-time military service to just coin that phrase. Mind where your mind goes means the world. Your mind is designed to go places gnarly. If you're thinking that I'm offering you to become some sort of unicorn that runs through daisy fields, it's not quite right. It's not what I'm suggesting. Don't worry, the vast majority of us in this room have accumulated enough negative experiences and reasons to predict threats that if something happens that surprises you, it's likely because it wasn't predictable anyway, right? So you don't need to hold on to those scripts of life. They're there on standby ready. You've got drawers full of them. You don't have to keep reading it. So your job is to mind where your mind goes. And when you catch yourself with that 17-second situation, go, ha. Maybe not. Don't do it inappropriately, okay? If you're in a vehicle, don't go, ha. Do something else. Focus on your fingers. Fingers on the steering wheel. Fingers on the steering wheel, oh my goodness. Toes, hopefully, on the pedals if you've got them. Look around you. See what you can smell, hear, feel. Feel the temperature on your skin exactly as it is, not as you want it to be. Tiny little microseconds that bring your body where it is, right? Your mind out of its head and into the world. That is the job to be done. Actually giving it a sense of it being in the present moment is extraordinarily important because typically Even if you were in an extreme worst scenario, I'm not saying I've entirely been there, but I was there for a hot second. Even there, you have an opportunity to find tiny little micro moments of extraordinary hope and lightness. And when you see that, you can't unsee it. You're like, woo, life is pretty awesome, actually, no matter where you are, right? Second one, mind where your mind goes is the first one. The second heuristic I need you to contemplate is this: belong to better. By the way, this whole thing, I did beautiful research. My research was picked up by some rock stars. The rock stars took it away and replicated it across all sorts of different contexts. And then we had an extraordinary team of marketers that picked it up and turned all my proper geeky data into a marketing Sesame Street simple ABCD. I forgot to promote it because that's not my buzz. Awareness, belonging, curiosity, drive. Factually true. Just frighteningly simple, right? Belong to better is incredibly important. Belonging is critical for your resilience. Belonging, firstly, to that ultimate potential you only can conceive of yourself. And most importantly, if you find yourself depleted, belong to better is a remarkable heuristic because it reminds you that if you find yourself depleted and on your off side, the wrong side of the bed one morning, your job is to give yourself a sense of self-efficacy and hope. How that happens? Tiny little micro actions that improve, wait for it, someone else's lot. There is huge amount of research in that space, cross-culturally, cross-contextually. So if you find yourself having a bad day, to boost your resilience, the suggestion is take one tiny little action to improve someone else's lot. Do you know why? Because your brain is designed to show you that if you have the energy and capacity to do something good for someone else, you clearly have enough resources. I'm not talking about self-sacrificial behaviors here. I'm talking about micro moments of expression. Smile, looking at someone that passes you by. You know that guy with the bigger car than yours? Instead of going, how come he's got that car? I've got the PhD. Instead of doing that, going, hey, five man, well done on having this big car. I did have that incident, by the way. I was very jealous of that car. My moral is, belong to better means find tiny little micro moments every single day to improve someone else's lot. With the look, with glancing with them with sense of hope and optimism, with looking at them as if you see something better that they can see in themselves. And then that becomes a positive cascade effect because guess what? Most of the time, they'll pay you back without even knowing it. Micro-expression does that. If you have teams, if you have humans around you, if you have loved ones, please go ahead and experiment. Call me to thank me. You're welcome. Next, curiosity. That is the stuff that saves our skin in Syria and continues to see us thrive across all sorts of contexts. The job is simple. It turns woe to wonder. Science has proven, and so has experience of life, that you cannot be freaked out and curious at the same time. I hope you trust me when I tell you that curiosity is a critical predictor of your ability to succeed. I'm not talking about surviving here. You will anyway, until a point. I'm talking about thriving. Curiosity is critical. Your brain is not wired to be curious if you're telling it something big and scary is about to get it. There are no bears in Australia, right? There are no wild bears. Unless you suspend that assumption of woe and worry, your brain is designed to turn a kangaroo into it. Don't do it. It's not real. This is what curiosity does, and you need to challenge yourself to find it continuously. Now, how you do that? The micro moments just before you notice yourself becoming overwhelmed, or when you catch yourself being a little bit more on the grumpy side of the continuum. Ask yourself a couple of questions. Just you can always go back to the worst case scenario thinking, right? But for a microsecond, disrupt that pattern of thought. Remember, hands on the steering wheel, feet on the driving. Yeah? I can feel the temperature on my skin. I can feel the air around me. What do I smell? What do I hear? What do I think? When you get there, for a microsecond, ask yourself a couple of questions that can help you expand your perspective. I wonder whether, I wonder how, I wonder why. From a pure place of curiosity. What that does is that it turns that wet Wednesday morning we talked about earlier into something that you can begin to marvel around. Find one good reason to marvel a possibility about anything you encounter. For that microsecond, your brain is disrupted and dislodged from that 17-second rule that we talked about. And all of a sudden, you begin to contemplate different views of life. And before you know it, you've moved on to the next minute where the possibilities are greater than they were if you stayed in the dark side of the continuum. Are you with me? One more suggestion. And the final one, that final suggestion is going to lead us into an activity that I need you to commit to on your tables. Are you ready? That's not the activity, but you're welcome to take a picture. Do you want me to pause? Sorry. So the next one, the final one, is drive. Now, all of us are here to hopefully find ourselves supported in our drive to achieve even more. I get to encounter individuals who think that drive is like grit. You just like bulldozer through stuff to a point, and then it becomes a very dumb game, a game of friction as opposed to creativity and complex problem solving. We are here for the big game, not for the small game, right? And here is the thing. There is no sane human on a planet that feels sustainably driven without being aligned with your own sense of purpose. And that's not somebody else's purpose. This is you today, not as you were or as you should be, but as you are. And that purpose has to be zinging with you. You know that movie, what is it called, Hotel Transylvania? Anyone who has been a child or has a child has seen that movie. You have to zing with your purpose. You have to be in love with it. I've told you already, you have to talk about it, feel about it, walk about it, move about it, dream about it. And then you are driven. Your brain is designed for it. It's not driven when we are slogging it towards something that you don't really want. But it is driven if that purpose, even if it's a hard thing, is attached to something greater than the thing itself. And it's your job to define it. Nobody else knows it. You're the guy or the girl that is writing that book of life. So please, observe. Observe, starting with yourself. Who it is that you are today. What matters most to you? What about now? What about now? What about now? Orient towards the opportunity. Quieten the voices of those gremlins on your shoulder so that you can move away from the threat. Because most of the time it's imaginary, right? Unless there is a wild bear in Australia that is coming to get you, and then we'll be disaster. Then decide, then act. I have to always remind myself to share this. Thriving, resilience, it happens when we shift away from default mode, even if we feel super cozy with it. Cozy never leads to any positive outcomes unless you're defrosting for a hot second before you get on your march. What you need to be thinking about is deliberate. How does the stuff I think, feel, do, and act today lead me to that intention-full existence I am after? That's it. All about it. Then check your habits. Remember, you're going to be the circuit breaker. You're going to be the attentional gatekeeper. You're going to be the intention-full rock star of your life. What that means, you're going to have to disrupt the habitual and focus on optimizing to the optimal, your own optimal state, not somebody else's optimal state, yours. You know it. Go after it. Go after it. You don't have to be there. 1% better every day is the way of life, right? Ask thousands more questions. The best parts is in the questions, not in you being deep expert, but in your ability to ask questions. Pause a whole heap more often. Every piece of evidence I see, including with the unicorns I work with, suggests that to go far, you have to go slow. The best march is one that is deliberate, not an accidental rush. Slow it down, OODA loop it, go obsessed with your purpose, go after it. Now, do you know the rock star to your left and to your right? Shifting away from me and to you now. Did you see how that was a very bad transition, but who cares? I'm testing your resilience. Are you with me? Do you know what I'm talking about? It looks like you suddenly became awake. Okay, bear with me. Look at the person to your left and to your right. Excellent. Do it quickly. Tick, tick, tick. Excellent. That was a ninja move right there. Do you know why we are doing that? Because what we are going to do is do a homework you are going to complete by the end of the day. But I am going to ask you to take a picture of it because we are not leaving this mission unfinished. In a hot second, we will have some questions to ask, but first I'm going to explain a slide that contains your homework. Do you remember the second resilience heuristic, belong to better? Yep. Do you remember the first one? Mind where your mind goes? Do you remember the third one? Curiosity, will to wonder. Purpose precedes drive is the fourth one. We're going to practice that in action in a very cute way. So you're going to start with I. And you are going to introduce yourself to the person to your left and to your right. You have a whole day to do that with a description of your superpower. If it makes you feel awkward, so what? Just do it, right? Doesn't matter. Practice resilience by stepping into the uncomfortable spaces. I want you to introduce your superpower to the people standing next to you, and I'm not doing it for funsies. I'm doing it because I needed to practice that muscle of self-efficacy. If the person that is standing next to you looks like the kind of person that you don't want to be telling about your superpowers, that is precisely what you should do. Okay? Your job is to go wild on it. One superpower you know. Not the one that others know you by and that you received your award at school for. The one you were working to grow into. Understood? So it's a stretch thing. The second thing you're going to say to them is what it is that you need. And you're going to be loud about it. Okay? Because what you'll notice is that even if that need is something that you kind of want to cover up, the minute you share it, you'll notice that a fellow human has a similar need, or one that looks just as magnanimous, because that's what humans do. They have needs. Now, keep it appropriate, please. What we're talking about here is a need to help you grow closer to your potential. Then what you're going to do is that you will share with them what you will need, what you will do. And that is the gift of commitment. When you communicate that to other people, your way forward towards that goal becomes a little easier. The final thing that you're going to do is this. You will look at that person, you will hear the story because they will be sharing it just like you're sharing yours, and you will acknowledge one superpower about them. That is the gift of recognition. So you're going to give them the gift of your confidence, the gift of your vulnerability and transparency, the gift of your commitment, and the gift of your recognition. Are you with me? Nothing fluffy about it. Don't make it so. I'll be watching you, lovingly. If it helps, this is what you might want to do as well. There is a really lovely little site. It's free. It's free. It's available to you. You can write 1,000 letters to yourself if you want, but it's called futureme.org. And when you type it in your device, it'll pop up with an opportunity for you to send yourself a letter to your own email. Send yourself a letter 3 months from now, 6 months from now. Where will you be? What is the superpower that you remembered about yourself today? What is the need that you identified? What will you do about it? I need you to send this letter to yourself today. That's the most important thing. On that note, thank you for your attention. I have no idea how long it's been. You're amazing. Shall we talk some more? Ask some questions? Have a discussion? Where's your energy at? Hi. 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 Awesome. Thank you.
All right, folks, give a big hand again to Alia. So while we're just getting set up, round your tables, 3 minutes, discussion, what did you get out of that so far? And then we're going to do some questions. So start to come up with what questions you'd like to ask Alia. So round your tables, couple of minutes, let's go. Let's get some people up to the microphone, everybody. So a couple of people on the microphone for questions. This is a great opportunity to ask Alia some questions about all of that. So we need a couple on each mic. Let's go. Come on, jump on up. I would say anybody in the leadership space, this is a good time to ask some great questions. Where were we? We might start, Barb, down with you first.
Hello, thank you. I'm really intrigued about when you're in the moment of somebody has a mission to keep you from where you are, particularly when you're held hostage, what sort of questions do you ask them? You know, like, they're sitting there, but is it an everyday question? So what did you have for breakfast? Or, you know, like, what would you talk to them about when you know that their mission is to make you fearful or whatever it is?
Can I hazard a guess that I'm sure you're deeply curious about a hostage situation and the questions we ask the hostage takers. But I suspect for the vast majority of us, the more interesting question is, what do you do in situations when you feel yourself trapped in the company of or a situation that you don't want to be a part of? can I hazard a guess that this is probably more interesting than whether we ask people? I think you were being really generous with that. Am I guessing it, or do you genuinely want me to tell you what questions we asked?
Well, I was intrigued about the specific, but I also
Yeah.
know that generally, yes, you know, when you're in a situation that you don't want to be in, how do you sit there with the emotion that rises up and down when
Yeah.
you think that somebody next to you is not the
Let's-
way you'd like it to be?
Shall we visit both? So I think in a spirit of transparency for our particular incident, we'd already had the privilege of 5 months of witnessing extraordinary human suffering in the region. And if you're a human that has any level of compassion, empathy, and I guess humanity about them, you begin to anticipate what you'd do if you were in similar circumstances. And so when you witness people who are in situations of acuity, perhaps not having had breakfast for a very long time, whilst we were having it just because we were UN military observers. The scales and your capacity to wonder is already preset long in advance to that kind of critical incident. What I mean by that is we genuinely had spent months observing populations under significant duress. It was not strictly our assignment. Our assignment was to observe the peace between Israel and Syria, and to observe a very specific area where if we didn't pay attention, there'd be smuggling of weapons and personnel, military personnel and others, into an area of no-go zone. That was far less meaningful and important than what was going on the ground with those individuals who were suffering extraordinary, incomprehensible challenges for no fault of their own. On the back of that, when you find yourself in this situation and you have precious few moments to share with a fellow human, past a certain point with those experiences of fight, flight, freeze mode, the stuff that we are all wired to do, you know them, it feels like you have a near miss all the time, right? And eventually, you begin to notice little micro moments of opening. The job to be done, though, is that you have to challenge your assumption around whether this human is worthy of you seeing as a fellow human, as opposed to as a problem. And that is a big ask sometimes. I did mention my husband, and this is one area where I fail in this exercise, right? My husband is extraordinary, by the way, but he is a stickler, he's a perfectionistic individual, and that to me is the most challenging type of person to deal with, right? And so there are moments where I catch myself having a very fixed idea about this guy. And I didn't have that when we were taken hostage, because I was determined to find a way to better understand the drivers and the motivators of our captors. I wanted to really understand them, even if this was the last thing we did. Military observers are trained to gather information. My particular mission in my mind was, if I was to leave this area, I was going to have a whole heap to update my military community on, so that we can better navigate the next challenge. And that's what personally drove me. But I also had my colleagues next to me. And I understood that if I was reacting to every situation and every treatment in a way that took away from us, they would too. They would respond in a way that is designed to protect me at the detriment. So there's all these things that have to be considered in this situation. And in every situation, each and every one of us has an opportunity to pause for a microsecond and select the next better course of action. Genuinely, that piece about stacking good versus stacking bad means the world to me. But what we did ask them, after a few confrontational interactions, was really different versions of why. What is your why? What it is you try to do? And weirdly enough, the big unlock for us was when one of the individuals that held us, who was perhaps the more aggressive one, came to us and showed us a picture in his wallet that had his family members, all of which were dead. And he considered the UN to be responsible, not directly, but by virtue of what he called their impotence. You can't argue with that. Yeah. So we sat on the same side of the continuum to that observation. Our why was to see the same positive outcomes that he was after, just in a very different way. And that started the conversation. But we didn't know that we were going to make it out alive until long past the moment when we made it back to safety. This is how messy our situation was. Was that relevant in any way, or did I go cray-cray?
No, that was awesome, because it's like, how do you connect? And that was probably the continual questions until you found a connection. So that makes sense. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Give Barb a hand, everybody. Thank you.
Awesome, Barb. Thank you.
Hi, Dr. Alia. David. I had the pleasure of seeing your presentation in New Zealand as well, at the forum there. I love how it portrays to me how you were having a bad day and you sought to help someone else, as you said in your presentation. And the processional effects of that, of this guy who was holding you captive is now the headmaster of a girls' school you call your girls. There was obviously no way you could have foreseen that, and you've possibly answered this question already, but what was your future me at your negotiation stage?
What was our future like? Sorry, can you
What
please?
was your future me looking like? You wouldn't have seen the processional effect of this man being a headmaster in the future at a girls' school.
By the way, I'm slightly deaf, not because of
Come
not
closer
because
to
of
the
a combat
microphone.
experience, because of too much drum and bass. I'm serious. I'm actually serious. Sorry, don't judge me, okay? So the question: what would have? Are you asking what would have been the outcome if we weren't able to negotiate our release?
No,
Oh,
sorry. I love that the processional effect of you negotiating your way out was that this man is helping these girls at this school. When you were negotiating, when you're in that being held captive, you would not have seen that, I believe.
No.
So what was your future me? What was it you were seeing?
The strangest piece about this, thank you so much for the question, I'm so sorry. It's so the strangest piece about it, I don't know if he would have seen it as well. He knew that the need exists. He was very much motivated and driven to support people in education. He was an educator who had lost everything through a series of events that were no fault of his own. And so it was through a series of serendipities months later that we met each other and we discussed how we could possibly aid. But the driving force behind it wasn't as obvious as the big why that set kind of holding us all together in that space. The driving force was help us shift from this senseless suffering. And it wasn't really an ask for help. In the moment, it was a frustration. It was a sense of hopelessness. It was fury. Fury because if you've nothing else to lose, then the last thing you'd want to make is a point, right? At least you can go loud. I don't know if any of these individuals expected to step away from this well, ultimately. Can I make one more, can I share one more little detail? One of the things that we all remember very clearly from our situation was that when we had, so the area we were held in was under heavy bombardment at the time. We knew that because we'd spent months observing that same area, and we knew roughly the kind of the cycle of artillery round, when things would go loud. And we were in the building, and of course the area around us was heavily shelled. We were the only ones that were doing this every time, like ducking, protecting ourselves. They weren't. And it's obvious not because they were having inshallah moment, maybe they were, but because they were so conditioned that the nervous system was no longer responding to what we thought was the most confronting thing, like every shelling round, blood rushing to your nose, anticipating what would happen if it comes closer, your ears are ringing, none of it. Complete state of equanimity amongst them. So you can imagine that to get to a shared why, with individuals who are operating on completely different kind of different narratives for life, different functions, different state of readiness, different level of nervous system healthiness. Do you know what I mean? So my point is, if this is the level of acuity we shared or discovered our why in, why can't we do that more often in our daily interactions? And I get to see that all the time. One more thing, I think it's easier to do it in extreme situations because your life depends on it. Don't go be taken hostage, please. That's not the aim, trust me. But let's just start pausing a little bit more often and just looking to see what might sit outside of that. You strike a conversation and all of a sudden, if you're down that walk, it's very difficult to pull back to the worst case scenario because your mind, no matter your cultural context, no matter your physiological wiring in the moment, is designed to want to discover what sits around it. Right? You've seen it.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, David. Give
Thank
him
you.
a hand. Thank you, mate.
Hi. Thank you for sharing everything. It was amazing. My questions have already been asked, but when you were talking about having a negative thought and then your brain finding the evidence to support that, then if you flip it and think a positive thought, And does your brain find evidence? If so, how can you move from being conditioned to think negative and find evidence to your default being think positive and find the evidence?
I love this. Thank you so much. This was something we were going to discuss, right?
Same question.
Can we please explore that? So it's kind of, I don't want you to think about the fact that we're not doomed to have negative thoughts. Now, most of us have done well with life, kind of surviving averagely happy, right? So the thing is that our brains are wired to stay in that cycle of negative thought, unchecked. Like when you are unchecked, we travel down that line, right? So how do you switch that? How do you break that habit? And the most, by the way, have you noticed, are you stable on your feet? My chair, I don't know how to stop my chair. I promise this is just water. There's no vodka here yet. But the way it works is you get yourself in that line of thought. You know that your mind is just trying to protect you. Now it goes about finding other cousins to that thought because it recognizes that our initial fear or kind of worst case scenario thinking is usually not entirely factually based or entirely founded. But what it goes about doing is that it doesn't want you to tell yourself that you are paranoid. It's going to find little evidence of a time when your fear was based on some kind of fact. And it does that to protect you. Now, what we do in those moments, instead of saying, stop being negative, don't be a negative Nelly, or whatever you say in Australia, what we do is that we go, oh, what a wise brain. It's trying to protect me. Thank you so much. I don't know if you want to speak to yourself in front of others. Maybe don't do that in a full script. But just acknowledge it, and acknowledging without judgment is incredibly important. Because the last thing you want to do when you're kind of having this layering of negative thoughts is to just beast yourself even more with more negative thoughts about having negative thoughts. This is kind of the first close cousin to your first negative thought. I'm having negative thoughts, I'm a negative person, boom. You remember the time 10 years ago when you were considered a negative person? All memories that are associated with that come rushing back in to protect you. We pause right there and go, oh, look at that brilliant mind of mine. It's ready on standby with a huge army of thoughts ready to protect me for the worst case scenario. Let me just show him a light, right? And you go ahead and say to yourself, I'm doing really good today. I'm minding myself, I'm minding my life, I'm minding the potential minefields that could be around me because I'm onto something really big and important. Myself, my life, a sense of happiness and purpose. And you find something that you're excited about today. Find something that you were excited about yesterday or that you were looking forward to tomorrow. It doesn't matter whether this is promised or not. Contemplation is as strong as an experience in the same way as worry is as strong as a feeling, right? Think lemon. Switch lemon to lolly or whatever spins your wheels. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah? So we don't judge ourselves, we don't critique it, we let it go long enough to go, enough, I can see the army around me, I'm protected. Now let me look forward to something positive. Does that relate or have I gone wild? Yeah. Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Awesome, give her a hand, thank you. Kel.
Hey everyone, Kelly here from Wealth Space. Thank you so much for the presentation and welcome to Australia.
Thank you.
My question was around purpose preceding drive, and I was reflecting on that with your teenagers that you're working with.
Yes.
And I just wonder if you have any tips for someone who's struggling to find purpose, whether that's a teenager or adult or team member or anything like that. So.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That's probably quite an important question for the vast majority of us in the room, right? I don't know if I signaled that. So I have a 10-year-old and we also have 12 godchildren, and a big number of them live with us, and we never want them to let them go. But the reason why I'm signaling this is oftentimes we are thinking purpose, particularly if we are in some kind of role of a carer or a parent, we feel like it has to be quite defined. And it has to be defined based on something we've experienced before, someone we know knows. And we go about crafting a really rich book of labels so that this young individual who might have an idea of their own that is not fully baked can follow. And that is not entirely purpose, that is script. Right? So purpose comes from motivation. Purpose can be underpinned by the sorts of things that are uniquely yours that spin your wheels. They don't always stay the same, you might have noticed. For all of us, for life, it evolves, it changes, it shifts. The short of it is, you discover purpose by virtue of seeking the sorts of spaces that your mind, your own, I don't know, depending on your value system, right? Your mind, your emotions, your wiring, your spirituality, if you wish, is uniquely connected with, and you do that by experiencing life. The most powerful rule I heard when I became a parent was to remember to get out of my child's way. And I was like, what? What do you mean? I need to protect him. Yes, and to give them an opportunity to explore, to test things that they already know they have an interest in, and when they get there, to help them continue to pursue that goal even if they experience setbacks, to learn in those micro moments of failure that this is a great lessons learned. Travel lightly, and all of a sudden, through their passion, emotions, and experiences that are uniquely available to them because of their own personalities, they begin to discover something that makes them feel purposeful about their day. And when you stack up purposeful days, you discover a sense of purpose. If you cast your mind to the time when you were a teenager, how many of you had a rich book of life full of purpose that hasn't quite transpired yet and you're grateful for it? I was going to be a Greenpeace activist. Grateful that didn't happen. Nothing against Greenpeace. It's just, my mum would have never talked to me. So it's just really, where can I find myself purposefully engaged and excited? And when I stack these up, that becomes my purpose. Do you think that is
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Yep.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you so
Kel.
much.
Give her a
Thank you.
hand. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Coco. I'm
Hi,
15.
Coco.
And I just had a question. Earlier you said if you have a complete obsession with your mission, you engage others. Could you elaborate on that?
What did I say? Can you tell me again?
If you have a complete obsession with your mission, you engage others.
Yes. Yes. So, Coco, you probably have seen that. I hope you have witnessed that at one point or another when you're engaging with friends or people around you. And so, thank you so much for asking this question. I hope we'll be understanding this to mean is a healthy interest in something as opposed to negative obsession, right? And so I probably should have made that distinction a little clearer, but I sense that you know what I'm talking about. So what that is that when we witness people who are inspired by something, who are pursuing a goal that is unique to them, who are sharing a story that they feel captivated by, and are doing it in a way that they make space for others around them, we create momentum. So human beings, cross-culturally and cross-contextually, are designed to travel together. Right, in New Zealand we like being on a waka together, right? And so we like to paddle together. And so when you notice this momentum, we see this in sports teams, as well as individual athletes, as well as top performers across all sorts of different fields. I see it with CEOs and founders that have discovered an outrageous idea, and all of a sudden, by virtue of the passion they communicate the idea with, they develop extraordinary teams. We have to compete and have these extraordinary people from all over the world, top scientists in respective fields, because the person who came up and conjured that idea and made that purpose bigger than themselves has created that space, that gravitational pull around them. So I don't know whether this is relevant, Coco, or not, but I think the core learning from my perspective is whatever it is that you do it with lightness and joy. Allow yourself to share it with others so that they can experience that. And when you have this thing, what it creates is this wonderful gravitational pull that you can enjoy together in. And in that way, you have your enablers, your supporters, your tribe, and you grow together. Does that sound relevant?
Yeah, that was great. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Coco.
Thanks, Coco. Give her a hand. Jack, we'll go to you, mate.
Thank you. Kelly asked pretty much the same question that I had, but now I got a little twist as well. So with the purpose precedes drive, thanks for clarifying that. That was great. Would you say that is an exercise of awareness to sort of, go about your day, auditing your life as of where I get more drive, what activities I do that give me more energy or less energy or more power or less power? So is it an exercise of awareness to then be able to follow or find your purpose?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, sorry, is that a part 2 to the question?
Yes.
Go.
Well, if so, how could we as parents potentially support kids with helping them visualize that or see it or be more aware? And then for us as well, I suppose, to be aware.
Awareness, okay, can we just discuss what awareness is? Because sometimes we think that awareness, and by the way, if anyone else has a comment to make on that, I'm not the only expert in the room. We have like, what, how many people do we have here? We have about 250 experts in human behavior. So let's just please start throwing the mic around. Wait, if you want to jump in, please let me know. But I'm really excited about this proposition because when we're thinking about awareness, we have a habit of thinking that it just means me standing here thinking, being really clear on my life plan and just sticking to it to the T. It doesn't necessarily just mean that. Like, you have to have some sense of that. But that's not what awareness is. Awareness is presence. Awareness is being in the moment. It's allowing the input from your context to help you to tango dance with it without being overly cautious. Do you know what I mean? And I translate this to children and the way in which we raise our young people, because oftentimes what we do is that we try to keep them focused, like with the blinkers on, to this thing that we don't actually know they will enjoy or that will even exist as a platform for them in the future. When I'm speaking about awareness, it's creating the freedom for us to experience the moment as we are now, out of our heads and into the world. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's far more than a stringent plan and a rigid robotic adherence to something that you may have enjoyed some years ago but suddenly has lost its appeal. Even that in itself is an area to explore from a standpoint of awareness. What about this no longer captivates me? Awareness is not, let me just like keep bringing myself back to the point. There is an element of that. But it also occasionally, when you notice yourself disjointed around this thing, is allowing yourself to face it. That is awareness. Actually going, what about this is not quite adding up? Because when you go to these places, you allow the gremlin on your shoulder to become something that you can have a conversation with, and then together you can negotiate to a place better that sees your performance far more impactful and meaningful than it was when you were just roboting through life. Does that connect? Does that not connect, but do you think that's
Yes.
relevant? Yeah?
Thank you.
So I'm really keen on that version of awareness being something we explore a whole heap more. You expand your awareness by going for a run more than you do by staring at the same life plan for the nth time for the 16th hour of the day. You know it. You've seen it. You've been there. Now your job is to actually see yourself being able to influence the outcome of your experience.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joaquin. Give him a hand. Well done. Just let me check in. Folks, how are we going for time too? How much longer have we got? Okay, thank you. Becky, I think we'll go to you. Thanks, Beck.
Hi.
Hi,
Hi,
Beck.
thank you so much. I'm Beck from Leverage Me, also Coco's mum, so that's really lovely to see her connecting. And thank you for giving us a glimpse into your vast experience, knowledge and mind. I'm sure we've only just seen a snippet. And just a quick acknowledgement of the shoes, because I think there's a few people in the room.
Thank you.
So you briefly went over wayfinding in ambiguity equals carefully nurtured pivot points.
Mm-hmm.
And I was captured by that, and I wondered if you might have an example of what a pivot point, carefully nurtured, would look like.
Yeah. Thank you for noticing this. I probably should be spending more time if I'm sharing this particular slide, but every word is carefully chosen to reflect a really meaningful opportunity for us all, I think. So the bit about wayfinding and ambiguity is obvious to us all. Ambiguity by design demands that we don't expect ourselves to travel the same straight line that we have witnessed before, right? Nothing in life that is worth following is a straight line, right? But the second piece, carefully nurtured pivot points, matters a lot. And so if we live life well, what we know from the science of resilience, health, and well-being is that we need to move and adjust and adapt continuously, hopefully for the better. Hopefully in a way that meets our demands as they are now, as opposed to how we thought they ought to be. All of us are competing with thousands of scripts for life that oftentimes are not examined carefully. They're not even ours to live, but we have picked up along the way, and we're kind of struggling against the friction with them without even consciously being aware of what those things are. What I'm signaling here, if it applies to any of you, are norms, expectations, and standards of behavior that we are still kind of holding as the echo of yesterday. There's a lot of really remarkable research in that. When we're talking about pivot points, is understanding whether some of the rules that you adhere to or understood to be the most defining, that you shaped your life around in the past, serve you. And we're not talking about radical shift here, we're talking about evolution. How do you grow with those? How do you evolve those? How do you evolve your concept of self and your understanding of your environment, the world around you, in order to meet yourself a year from now, a month from now, an hour from now, as the version of yourself you want to stay with? Does that make sense? So really love this, carefully nurtured pivot points, because it also demands, firstly, a level of cognitive and emotional agility, readiness to accept that life is going to be filled with challenges if we are to live life well. But it also means that as the boss of yourself, you have an utmost responsibility to be thoughtful, intentional, yes, but most importantly, the most caring person, because when you are right, everything else you care for is also right. So that is what it means to me to be this, master of carefully nurtured pivot points. Know what served you, what no longer serves you. Be prepared to examine how you might want to evolve it in order to be the kind of version of yourself that serves your future and everyone you care for better ahead. And then be prepared to lovingly, gently, and appropriately support yourself in pursuing that next iteration of self.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I appreciate it too. Thank you.
Thanks, Beck. Thank you. Give her a hand. We'll just do the last few, folks.
Hi guys, my name's Beck. I'm from Anna's Farm. I just have a question. I'd really like to draw on your knowledge and experience in managing multiple operations. Like, I see myself as like me, this human who does all these things and have all of these plans for myself. And then also my family, right? I'm a mother as well. And then I'm in business. And I don't have an issue with negative thoughts. Oh, we all do, obviously, but it's not a big thing. But it's jumping between all of the things, right? And then I find I personally lose focus. So like I can do two things really well and one thing not well. How do we do all the three things really well? Thanks.
Love the question. Thank you so much. I didn't get your name, sorry?
Beck.
Beck.
Yeah.
Lovely to meet you, Beck. You probably have heard about this rule, I'm sure. You can have it all, but not all at the same time.
Yeah.
I spend a significant amount of my time as a geek and a mother and a farmer and a businesswoman trying to question that assumption and to only recognize that it's there for a good reason. We can have it all, but not all at the same time. One thing I try, and it's not just me, I've got exceptional mentors that lead by example in the way they live their life, is where you are full-heartedly, in the fullness of your capabilities, commitment and love, right? And that might mean my son having a tantrum, and I am full-heartedly there, committed, even though I'd rather, to be fair, be dealing with some of the work issues I'd avoid any other day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
And so it's just giving yourself an opportunity to be fully absorbed by whatever's going on around you. Our minds are wired to pull us away from this state if there is a real emergency. But oftentimes what we do is that we are nowhere, anywhere, for any significant length of time. We are just in between spaces. And there is no evidence to suggest that whole idea of multitasking has ever been proven right, unless you're talking about something very basic that does not involve heart and intellect. We're talking about transacting, muscle memory. Sure, you can multitask, but not of the stuff of consequence, not with decision-making, not with emotional intelligence, not with being available to deal with complex discussions, ideas, challenges when you are needed. So can we please accept that if we intend to live life meaningfully, we have to allow ourselves, it's not the opportunity, it's the responsibility to be where your feet are, mindfully. I don't know why I had to do mindfully, but just like choose it again, and again, and again. You've heard about this thing? This focus, refocus thing? We do it with athletes a lot, or maybe athletes teach us or tell us that they do it and we believe them. But focus, refocus is your brain is designed to shift away from pain or frustration or boredom over and over again. And your job is to focus on a thing, and when you catch your mind shifting away from it, refocus over and over again, right? Until you begin to notice the next reason why this thing should hold your attention longer. You might have observed some athletes have like little rubber bands on their wrists. Have you seen that before? Right? Fear, anxiety, trigger, boom. The wristband goes on. Some people have like random things that look like ticks. They're not, they just be here, be where you are, right? A couple of the soldiers that we work with have this thing about squishing their toes inside of the boot so that they look like they're perfectly stable. That happens from needing to be on a parade ground for too long. and you don't want to lose it, right? So it's all of these little things. Focus, refocus. When you get your mind drifting away, the habit would be, oh my goodness, I don't even want to be here, or something else is going on elsewhere. Refocus back on that thing, recognize that our minds are designed to avoid, and revert back to look for something that can keep your attention where it needs to be, right where your feet are right now. That's it.
Awesome.
Thank you,
so
Beck.
much.
I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thanks, Beck. Give her a hand. Ask for you, Kay.
Good afternoon. My name's Kay. I've moved down the pages as the people have asked the questions. But one of the things that I found interesting, and thank you for sharing your story, the chains of habit are too light to be felt until they are too heavy to be broken. What are the signals that you would say where the chains become heavy, and what should people look out for so that they can move themselves or do whatever they need to do to make the chains light again?
Thank you so much for your question. That's a really meaningful one, right? So if we're talking about negative habits that are becoming the heavy chains we want to unleash ourselves from, I don't think we want to be having any light chains. I think we want to be having no chains, right? Life is designed to throw them our way on occasion, those temptations, to kind of be obsessed by a bad habit. Now, I think the vast majority of us know a thing or two that we would like to do better in order to move more lightly. And by that, I don't mean physical exercise or health. That's obvious. I mean other things as well, like patterns of thought that we recognize as being a little bit suboptimal. If we don't know that, we might know moments and situations in our lives where we find ourselves undercutting ourselves, questioning our capabilities, avoiding situations that we would have otherwise hoped to have in order to succeed, minimizing our worth in conversations of consequence, thinking about that thing called maybe tomorrow. Those are negative habits of thought, right? So you don't have to have like a whole script of all your gremlins in front of you and be like, go chop the heads off one by one. I mean, consciously choose one thing. Do you know what's fascinating about humans? Well, not humans, all of us, is that if we disrupt, if we allow ourselves the temptation to notice that this is just a sequence of behavioral patterns, if we disrupt it, the rest of them follow a little easier. You're like, oh, I was the one that has the control, right? And if you do that, then you begin to become aware of bigger patterns of life. Every single one of us is aware of a thing or two we would rather move away from, or at least move with freelier, right? So the challenge there, how do you know? You know it when you feel it. Do you know the fastest way to know how to know what you actually think is to notice how you feel about yourself, about life, right? And so when you catch yourself in these moments when your feeling isn't quite consistent with what you consider yourself to be in your optimal state, check your thoughts. When you catch your thoughts, notice what is the script that you're writing behind that. If it serves you, keep it. If it doesn't, question it. That's a habit broken. You've given yourself an opportunity to ask yourself some questions about something you subconsciously may have considered to be fixed. That's it, chain gone. The minute you begin to question it, it becomes a lot, the brain gets a little clunky around, I don't want to keep it. You told me I have a choice, right? I don't know if that helps. But please, can we just all choose one thing? I'm sure we have gazillions we can all choose from. That might be a thing we do about I am, I need, I will, you are. Can we? Sure. By the way, I forgot to mention the most important part is that we need to become each other's accountability buddies. Sounds a bit American when I say it. Can we? So please, can we just use that prompt to make that happen? One thing that you are, that you will, and that you need. So need be, what is a habit that I want to change, break, or elevate, or shift, or build? Can be positive as well. Do you think that was relevant? Was that
yes.
What you were after?
Thank you very much. Thanks.
I appreciate your question. Thank you.
Thanks, Kay. Give her a hand. I really do like that format too, though. Like to bring that, even as I'm sitting here, I'm like bringing that into the team, even in EBS as part of our, when we do our team planning days and whatnot. That full format.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Hello. Thanks very much for that presentation. There was a lot of incredible insights myself took away from that. Towards the end, I I noticed maybe a common denominator of everything, which was curiosity. So my question would be, have I perceived that correctly? And do you have any tips or mindfulness tricks to engage that curiosity?
Love that question. Thank you. Thank you so much. So, can I underline the question just for my own? What tips do I understand curiosity to be incredibly important? Yes, absolutely, 100%. If I was allowed to choose, I'd have it all over. Curiosity is the single most important predictor for a whole heap of positive outcomes we all crave and deserve and have readily available to us, should we let ourselves in that space. And I love how you said tips around mindfulness so that we can create more space for curiosity. And I suspect you kind of are giving me a gentle cue as to how I can build my recommendation. Thank you. The recommendation will be kind of in your question. So the job, remember how I said, I don't know if I said it, I was thinking of saying it, so I'm sorry if I've forgotten it. You cannot be freaked out, and curious at the same time. The brain is not designed to be exploring amazing ideas about thriving when it's worrying about having a wild bear coming to get it. So the first most important thing is that piece about pausing, stopping, creating a sense of slowness, deliberate, being in the moment to allow yourself to engage out of your head and into the world. That is just as important. Mindfulness practices, I suspect. Some of you, I'm sure, have explored that. If not, please go ahead and make that happen, because it really teaches you to be where your feet are. And when you are there, your system, by and large, becomes a little bit less dysregulated. And when you're in the present moment, you allow yourself to be engulfed and involved in what's happening in your life, as opposed to in your worry or rumination. And in that space, you begin to pose questions of significance. What matters most to me right now? What about now? What about now? What about now? That could be the most important question of significance you ask yourself. What matters most? But beyond that, if we are dealing with a particular issue or a challenge, the way in which I love seeing us practice curiosity is sketch ourselves at times when we think we are experts on something, particularly opinions of other people or triggers. I have a workbook for you that I'll send through the team, by the way, and you could practice that. So thank you for nudging us in this direction. So things that trigger you, that typically take away from you more than they give you, excellent opportunity to go ahead and practice curiosity. So allow yourself a space long enough to maybe ask a few more questions as to what might be something pleasant about that thing, something admirable about that person, action, or a situation. You can always go back to your negative assumption about it, but if you disrupt that assumption for a microsecond, you have created space for curiosity. So curiosity starts with stillness. It leads to exploration of ideas that might not otherwise be available to us, and it absolutely demands that we challenge moments when we find ourselves being fixed. My grandma would say, in the absence of curiosity, you're like a donkey on a bridge. Have you ever seen a donkey on a bridge? Comes to them, and neither have I, by the way, but I trust the lady, otherwise I'd be afraid. You kind of come halfway through to, on a point, and then you don't want to go backwards, and you can't go forward, and you just sit there and you want to prove your point, even if it's your demise, You don't want to be a donkey on a bridge. So, yeah. Do you think that, how would you want to elaborate any more on, or help us provide suggestions?
No, I think that was perfect. Yep.
I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank
Give
you.
him a hand.
Thank you.
Lucky last. Yes, sir.
Hello. You may have already answered my question.
Can you do an intro too? Who are you?
My name is Hugh Smith with Outback Aussie Tours, but I'm also an international studies and criminology student at the uni here.
Nice.
Thank you.
Criminology student at uni.
Yep.
Did you say that? Criminology student?
Yep.
Amazing. You guys say give him a hand. I don't know why you give him one hand. Give him two hands. Nice work. Amazing field. Well done.
Now, my question is, how do you maintain yourself in extreme and negative environments in order to achieve a goal?
Mm-hmm.
Is it just through curiosity, or is there more to it?
All of it is to it. Every letter of the alphabet is into it, right? So I love the framing of your question. Extreme negative environments, maintain yourself. right? The best you can do in extreme negative environments is maintain yourself. For the vast majority of us, hopefully, we are not in extreme negative environments. Some phases and stages of life could feel that, right? And maybe the best we can do is maintain ourselves. And that can seem the most complex challenge. It requires, that's why I love this ABCD, as much as it sounds so offensive and simple, it is actually all that is required to start with, at least. Awareness of yourself. How much do I have to go around? What's happening in my situation? That A in awareness stands for self-awareness, interpersonal awareness, situational awareness. Belonging. Belonging, if you are surrounded by individuals who mean you harm, you could give them a couple of micro-expressions to suggest you have some level of care for them as a fellow human, but it also means understanding the spinal belief that holds you together, right? Knowing who it is that is standing there holding the ground beneath your feet. If you are indeed cooking in a stage of extreme challenge, it's appreciating that hopefully this is just a moment in time. Even in your acute, even when you're contained, you have an opportunity to allow your mind to travel and visit places you enjoyed before, to think about smell, sound, hear. I keep doing this because it really does matter when you're in a pickle, to allow your mind to influence your state with recall or contemplation, right? And so we know that from all sorts of different, I'm not speaking of just my experience, right? I'm thinking of people who have experienced significant health challenges for prolonged periods of time. But unless you are trapped there, and I'm mindful that your question might sit in the space of criminology, but unless you're trapped there for life, I wonder why we are even contemplating maintaining ourselves in situations of extreme challenge if we have a choice to make. We always have a choice to make. The question is really knowing when we have gone past the point of tolerating it for the sake of testing our stoicism, and when it's time maybe to move on and go, I can think, feel, act differently in order not to be a part of this equation anymore, right? Do you think?
I reckon, yeah.
Yeah? Was I speaking Bulgarian all morning and you never told me? I can't wait to ask you questions about your...
Absolutely.
I think you just got him a high distinction in one of his subjects.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You guys, sorry, can I quickly segue? Do you know about a guy called Greg Newbold?
Sounds familiar.
Should be. He's like a professor in criminology and one of our top in New Zealand. And I don't know if this is a New Zealand thing, but he acquired his PhD in prison. He was a drug dealer, highly accomplished. He was my top university lecturer, as in my favorite, is what I mean. Amazing. An absolute super trooper. I would love to know what he'd say about that question. You know, he did a PhD basically in maintaining himself in extreme limiting, you know, that was my point. I was like, have you been talking to Greg? Yeah. Sweet man. Thank you.
Very good. Well done. Give him a hand. Thank you. I've got one last question.
Yeah.
Would you share the top one or two things that you've taught the All Blacks to turn them into the amazing team they are today, please? And if you could talk straight to that camera.
No.
And we're going to send it to the Wallabies.
Just so you know.
Thank you.
We... So in my defense, Propel Performance, which is my team, does work directly with the All Blacks. We all love and respect them dearly, being all New Zealanders, all people around the world, I am sure. But I'm inclined to believe that there is greater depth of learning to be gained from teams who have fewer resources than the All Blacks. I love them, but yeah, what would they say that you don't already know?
I guess my question was, is there, like, do you see...
Secret sauce? No.
Well, just do you see trends in different... Like you said, like there's sporting teams, there's corporates, there's highly successful. In my head, I'm like, you know, do they have trends that work better in that environment versus other environments? You know, you had other... That's what I was searching for.
I thought you were searching for a secret, and I was just
well, I was
about
searching
to
for...
share
I was
it
just
with
about
you,
to see where you were going, but go. That's
okay,
it.
all right. So, to be fair, in every one of these contexts, I wouldn't have listed them there if it wasn't something we've tested in that environment. So ABCD works exceptionally well in the context too. The difference might be the extent to which people apply themselves to those principles, right? So they have an ability, reason, and an environment that makes it a no-brainer that they're going to have to mind where their mind goes. Because if they don't, and they look like they're wallowing about and they're kind of dragging their bottom lip on the ground because they had a bad performance, Gilbert or one of his team is going to go ahead and tell them not to do it in no uncertain terms. Do you know what I mean?
I love that.
So we have contextual pressure points. By the way, I'm so sorry. I really love to talk to you. Are you stable?
It's spinning.
It keeps spinning away from the man. It's nothing to do with you. It's just that the audience is there. So this is the piece I find really important for us to recognize. We don't recognize enough of the influence of context in some of these circumstances we consider extraordinary. Context is incredibly important, right? So I guess my point here is exceptional individuals who have no choice other than to commit to what they've signed up to. They do it consistently, they do it because of the shirt, that means the world to them, and also we create the conditions within which they cannot question the commitment. Everyone in the team is there to full-heartedly support commitment to purpose over and over again. And that's a little different than what most of us experience in the workplace.
Well, you could think of it like a workplace, though.
Yeah,
Same
you should.
thing. Yeah,
we should.
exactly the same.
We should.
Love it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Give her a hand. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.